I think the number one question that has come up that people ask me about my book, There Are Still Unknown Places, is who did you base the characters on? And the first few times I was asked this, I was a little bit surprised. I never really considered it in that way, and I started to think about where did those characters come from. Um, and I think the answer is they're not based on anybody. This is a work of fiction. They're not even taken from anybody. What they are really, I think, and I think in everything I've written, is all of those characters are certain parts of me or certain aspects of me. For instance, uh, one of the characters, John, he he is the part of me that's the enthusiastic part who wants to show he's doing something good, who wants to impress others, who has a big opinion of himself, who who wants to grab the world and fight with it and win, and is sure he's going to win every time. And so when things don't go his way, he gets a little dejected. In my writing, John sort of he everything he does is about the future. He is oriented towards the future. He looks to the future, to some idealized future point where he's a big success and he shows everybody what he can do. In contrast, we have Peter. Peter is the failed priest. He's the drinker. He sort of symbolizes the present. He's stuck in the present with the way he lives his life, and the drinking. He is only right in the moment, and he's stuck in the present moment, maybe without enough orientation towards the future or the past. And this impacts his life and his relationships because he's just simply in the moment without a wider view of life. And Winston, another character, he's oriented towards the past. When you hear him talk, he's always worried and thinking about things that happened in his past and ruminating about the things in his past that made him who he is. I think most of us, we don't look at ourselves in a real psychological terms that this caused this to us, but we do know about certain things that were important to us and they still stick out in our minds. And that's what Winston is, somebody who is oriented towards the past and to the present and the future. He's sort of given up and, if not accepted, the world he is in, working in Bangkok. He's just sort of he's just checked out of it and accepts the nothingness of the present and the future for him. And you see in several points he sort of becomes annoyed because when he sees others violating his viewpoint of life and seeming to succeed sometime in the present or the future. So what about the Thai characters? And I think that's sort of part of myself as well. We have the Thai girl porn. She's something that I can see and feel in Thailand, and I feel it in myself, having lived here a long time. Sort of an idealized feeling of the goodness and innocence of the country and the hopefulness that everything that's happening is for the better, and that such a person can endure in their goodness even in the midst of the momentous changes that maybe to another person might be seen to be sweeping away the old ways. And also then we have Somchai, which is also, this is another aspect of the same idea. He's the Thai man who is being left behind and sort of humiliated by the changes and the movement of society from one point to another. All cultures are never static. They're always changing at some rate or another. But as we know in Asia, and especially the past 30 or 40 years, things have changed to a great degree. And so Somchai, I have this feeling sometimes that he has, that these new changes are sweeping away the boundaries of the comportment that people have and the old ways and the traditions. And like him, we sometimes have this feeling, or well, maybe I should say I have this feeling, you sometimes get a feeling it should just all be burned down. Just wipe away all the new. This is sort of the idea, the feeling of an older man who feels a little bit left behind, maybe didn't have the success that he envisioned he would have, and he has this sort of negative aspect about things. Oh, and I also, another character is Guy. Guy is sort of outside the past, present, and future that John, Peter, and Winston represent. Guy is a sort of person, I have known people like this tangentially, because of the nature of male-female interactions here. There are a lot of people, and I think particularly Brits and Australians, men in their middle age who just leave their families and come here and create a new family. And occasionally the remnants of their own old family come over here to try to see what happened to Dad, see what the real story is. Sometimes, especially when a young man grows up, he only saw this from a kid's view when his parents broke up and his dad came over here. When you grow up as a young man, you start to maybe, consider your father's opinions and what really happened, and you see things from a different viewpoint. And I think it would make one intensely curious as to knowing the real story, that one family was abandoned and another was started. So that's something I can feel a little bit, and Guy is representative of that. Not to forget the big man. This is the Thai man who is the rich man, the power broker overall, who was here in the past. He's here in the present, and he'll be here in the future when we're all gone in one way or another. And this is the tycoon, the revered man who can pull the strings, who was influential in the past, but now this new age in Asia has created an incredible surge in his fortunes. And I can, the way he is, the deference that's given to him is also something I think this character comes from me, because after you live here for a long time, and I'm not saying I was successful, but there's a certain thing in the culture, and there's a deference that's given to one, and the Thai way of Grangjai, which I can be interpreted many different ways, but I called it respectful fear, in that one is given a certain exaggerated sense of respect. And I believe I even talk about this in the book at some point, about how when you're within this system, even as an outsider, as myself for a long time, this sort of odious toadying that you can experience as a person, it starts to warp your sense of self, and you can become like this big man that I talk about, and as many Thai big men are. You become insulated from criticism, and you become you're liable to make big mistakes and never even realize it. And we also have Laura. She's the character who represents the part of me who just wants to speak out and point out the hypocrisies, the devilish inconsistencies of this place. She's the person who wants to throw stones in this glass house we all live in here in Thailand. And I also write some things about this as well, that, there's a sort of self-satisfaction that an outsider can get by disparaging, either in public or internally in their mind, the way another culture is. To sneer down your nose at something. However, in my book, I've tried to be, as I've said to some people, like a Proustian, in that I present my characters without judgment and without trying to say they're good or they're bad. And I try to see a character like Laura, who's the straight talker, who's unaware of the consequences of what she says, and is certain that speaking out in the American way, in the bold American way, is always the right way, and other people will come around to it. So I tried to present her in a way that was not judgmental, and that we could see each of these characters, each of these parts of me, warts and all, but not have one person the villain, one person the savior, and just see things how they are without, when you turn the characters into heroes and villains, you're trying to teach people something. You're trying to be didactic and show them that there's a certain way to do things, and I'm going to teach you about it, and you should pat me on the back. But I don't think that sort of writing is very illuminating, and what I'm trying to do is to have these characters allow you to enter this world and to paint a picture of this world at this time and place with the least amount of didactic judgment. I think there is a good and a bad, a good and an evil in the world, but I think the wise person is very careful about casting judgment very quickly, because our ability to see through time and not only through the judgments of one point is very limited. So in this book, trying to paint a picture, the characters are aspects of me, perhaps they're aspects of all of us, not based on anyone, but ways to see and ways to experience this culture and this place and this moment in history. So those are my characters from There Are Still Unknown Places. There Are Still Unknown Places. My latest novel is on sale now.